you through. Would you like me to say? And then it will all be over.
Yeah. And then I'm off to a birthday party outside. Yeah.
Did my bride come in with you this morning? She's here, but she's just not here. And we're at your house tonight?
of some change. Be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Don't be afraid of some change. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Before we begin our service today, let's acknowledge that the Unitarian Church of Montpelier is located on Western Abenaki land, which has served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst indigenous peoples. We honor, recognize, and respect these people as the traditional stewards of the land and waters on which we gather. And in the same spirit, we will respect, protect, and be good stewards of this land for as long as we walk upon it. Remember, the land does not belong to us. We belong to the land. Good morning. I'm Sally Armstrong. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am your worship associate this morning. On behalf of the entire worship team, I am delighted to welcome all of you, those of you in the sanctuary, and those of you watching the live stream. Thank you for joining us in this time of worship. Whether you are a newcomer, a longtime member, or somewhere in between, you are part of our community, and we are glad that you are here. For over 155 years, this church has been a sanctuary for those seeking spiritual sustenance and peace and justice in the world. With you, we continue today on that path. Please know that you can also listen to and watch the service in the fireplace room downstairs if you should need to leave the sanctuary for any reason. It's always a pleasure to have newcomers and guests join us for worship. If this is your first or second time and you feel comfortable doing so, you are invited to stand as you are able at this time so that we might offer you a special welcome. Thank you so much. We are really glad that you're here. We would love to have you join us for coffee hour immediately following the service to offer you a more personal welcome. You are also invited to fill out the welcome form available at the hospitality table in the vestry during coffee hour so that we can connect with you more fully. Now, we can all join in the welcoming by taking a few moments to turn to our neighbors in the pews and share a few words of greeting. Thank you for sharing these warm greetings. Thank you for sharing these warm greetings. Thank you for sharing these warm greetings. They can't hear me. I'm not sure. Can you hear me in the back? Okay. All right, I'm praying for Joan to take over. Well, you'll just have to listen carefully. Thank you for sharing these warm greetings. You are invited to continue your conversation after the service during coffee hour. It's a joy to be part of such an engaged community. There are many ways, in addition to greeting each other on Sunday mornings, to take part in the life of our community. Here are a few. UCM's Zoom meditation group begins meeting this Tuesday and will meet the first and third Tuesday morning from 10 to 11 a.m. for silent and spoken meditation. Please register in advance using the Zoom link in the e-news. This link is also on the adult LSE page on the UCM website. All are welcome. Next Sunday at 3 p.m., UCM will host and participate in an interfaith service in collaboration with our local faith communities. You are invited to attend and to get to know our neighbors across the faith traditions. There will be a social time after the service and snacks and beverages. Well, contributions of snacks and beverages are appreciated, which I assume means there are going to be snacks and beverages there, which is how I first read that. Please consult the weekly e-news to learn about other ways you can connect and serve our community. And now, please make sure your cell phone is set to worship mode. Sit back. Take a deep breath as we enter more deeply into our time of worship with the prelude.
It's the only constant in all that change is. It's the passing of things.
Change is. It's the becoming of all.
It is a parade. This change is. It is a dance. This change is.
It is the river and the stepping that's never twice.
It is the tragedy of all that was. This change is.
It is the fear of all that is, this change is.
It is the hope of what may be yet, this constant, this change.
This ice to water, this day to eternity.
Come to the river. Step, step, step. And please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn. It's number 354 in our gray hymnal, We Laugh, We Cry. We will sing verses 1 and 4 only.
Now let us mark this sacred time by lighting the chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. This morning, we welcome the Lawler family to light the chalice. As they do, I invite those of you at home to also light a candle or a chalice if you wish. This is the test. No. Yeah. There we go. Now let us all join together in the saying of these words of affirmation adapted from L. Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
I am thinking that maybe this microphone's not working for some reason. I'm turning on my headset mic in the hopes that, great, I'm going to use this one for now. During this morning's service, we honor the newest members of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier in their decision to formalize their commitment to this community by joining our congregation. As Unitarian Universalists, we come together with the understanding that being in community together is more important than dogma and creed. And thus, the relationships that we build in our congregations, the trust and the dialogue that come in those relationships are essential to our faith. Freely entering into the bond of membership is one way of deepening your relationship to this religious community. While anyone, member, or friend can participate actively in the life of this community, those who become members are choosing to make a special commitment to be active and engaged participants and decision makers of this congregation, to be in covenantal relationship with other members of the church, and to affirm their sense of belonging in a more formal way. Anyone who is 14 years old or older who is committed to our mission can join the church as a member. And if you are interested in learning more about membership at any point, you can contact me or Elaine Ball, our congregational life coordinator. And Elaine will now introduce the new members being recognized this morning. Let's try this.
Can you hear me?
Let's try the handheld mic. If those in the back can turn that on, Elaine is going to try using that microphone at the pulpit.
All right, hello? Yes, we can hear me now. Okay. Would our new members being recognized today please stand? We are so glad that you have found a place here at the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, a spiritual home, a place to be nurtured, a place to grow, learn, and to minister to others as much as you are ministered to, and a place to work alongside others to make our world better for everyone. Our new members being recognized today are Karen Evans, Connie Kite, Angie and Mark Lawler, and Jen Roberts. These are 5 of our total 7 new members who have joined since our last new member ceremony in May of this year. And you may have noticed an extra name on your photos and bios sheet. Katie Spring joined UCM in May and participated in our new member Sunday then in the past spring. Her photo and bio wasn't included then, so we wanted to introduce her a little more to you all as well. I'm going to be sharing a bit about each of these 5 members now as they come forward. So I'll have them line up along the side here. And I'd like to invite Vic from our board and Kathleen from our membership committee to come forward and offer our new members a few gifts after they sign the book. So as I'm sharing a little bit about them, you notice with your orders of service that we have longer bios for any of them, and we hope that in the coming weeks you'll keep an eye out for their names and faces, reach out to welcome them, and we also invite you to stay for the special coffee hour, where yes, we have lots of special goodies and snacks that people have brought. So Karen Evans comes to us from the First Unitarian Church of Rochester. She loves biking, baking, babysitting, and the Buffalo Bills, which I had to practice a few times to say. Karen moved to Montpelier about a year and a half ago to be closer to her grandchildren. And as they sign, the gifts we're giving them today are a carnation. We have white and a couple shades of pink they can choose from. And also a welcome book. And we have these welcome books with a selection of essays about Unitarian Universalism. And for any of you who haven't checked out our extensive library, we do have many bookshelves throughout the vestry and in the front entryway of the School Street entrance. And you're welcome to check out books. Connie Kite has been a lifelong UU and has raised at least 2 friends and members of our congregation, Kim and Kenrick Kite, and she grew up as a Universalist in Central Maine. She considers herself a pretty bad cook and loves peanut butter. We're so excited to have you with us, Connie. Angie, Mark, Abigail, and Atticus Lawler have lived in Chicago, Illinois, Boston, and California before setting down roots here, and they were previously members of the Unitarian congregation in Newburyport, Mass. And Jen Roberts grew up here in Vermont, in Craftsbury, and Barrie before moving to Boston after college. She found us during the pandemic online and is now excited to be joining us here in person. Moved to Montpelier about a year ago. We are so glad to have each of you with us today, and hopefully for many years to come.
Like herding cats.
And, oh, I gotta turn my other mic on. Connie, Karen, Angie, and Mark, and welcome also Abigail and Atticus. You have now signed our membership book, and Jen as well. Thank you, Jen. Joining UCM is much more than just signing your name in a book. It means being part of this gathered community and taking part in its shared ministry. It means speaking up about the future of our congregation, offering and receiving spiritual gifts, supporting others and being supported in return. If you will join in this mission and in this work, please say, I will.
I will.
Thank you. And now I'll invite the congregation to join in welcoming you as new members of this community and committing themselves to be in covenant with you. So first, I'd like to invite those of you who are longtime members of 25 years or more to rise as you are able, or let us know that you are here in the live stream chat. Wonderful recognition for our longtime members. Those of you who have been members for 10 or more years, please stay standing as you are able. Those of you who have been members for 10 or more years, please join them and rise as you are able. And anyone who is a newer member of fewer than 10 years, please rise as you are able. And any and all of you who are active with the congregation in other ways, are just getting to know this community now, please rise as you are able as well. And we will join together in a responsive litany of membership that includes our congregational covenant, which will be shown up on the wall here. There are parts for the congregation, for our new members, and for all of us to speak together. And we start with the congregation. We welcome you with joy into the sacred bonds of membership. We welcome you with love into the life of this community. We promise to be with you in times of joy and sorrow. We honor your search for truth and meaning. We will walk with you as together we seek the truth in love. as we serve one another and our wider human community and planet.
With joy, we enter into the sacred bonds of membership. With love, we bring our whole selves to the life of this congregation. We promise to walk beside you in times of joy and sorrow, and in turn, ask you to walk beside us. As seekers of truth and meaning, we commit ourselves to the living tradition of which we are all a part.
As members of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, we covenant to speak honestly and listen deeply to each other and the voice within.
Treat each other with compassion and honor our differences.
There we go. Oh, we got to go back one. We're all learning how to do this together. I think we're looking for taking responsibility for the impact. Let me lead you in the missing section, which is to take responsibility for the impact our words, actions, and inactions have on each other, support each other in times of need,
And celebrate the beauty and joy in our lives.
honor the gifts of the past, and be gentle with each other as we grow and make mistakes.
Encourage each other in the great work of creating a more beloved community and a healthy, sustainable world.
My favorite. And forgive each other and start again.
May we continue to grow
Together in wisdom and love as individual seekers and as one congregation, connected to those who came before us, those who will come after us. We commit ourselves anew to the sacred work of serving our mission and sharing our ministry. You all did great. We're throwing a lot at you today. And it is with such great joy that we welcome these newest members of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier. Please make a joyful noise. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Johanna, and I'm a member of the Lifespan Spiritual Exploration Committee. And this morning, I am also one of the people who is leading the Children's Chapel with Ginny Humphreys. And so at this time, we'd like to invite children from preschool to middle school to join us in the Children's Chapel. And parents, we would be happy to see you at the end of the worship service to come and greet us and pick up your children. Thank you.
Generosity is both a spiritual practice and a practice that is central to the well-being of our church community. It is a blessing and a privilege. Let me start that over. It is a blessing and a privilege of our free church tradition to support the shared values of this congregation with the generosity of our collective financial resources. Each month, through the UCM Community Pouch Program, we share part of our collection with an important church fund or a community organization aligned with our values. This month, the Community Pouch will benefit Good Samaritan Haven, Washington County's homeless shelter network. Currently, Good Samaritan assists over 400 individuals experiencing homelessness. Good Samaritan Haven works to keep Central Vermont's unhoused neighbors safe. Half of our cash offerings go to the pouch recipient. The other half will directly support the mission and ministry of this congregation. If you wish to designate your entire offering to the community pouch, please indicate that with the note attached to your cash or in the memo line of your checks. Checks will go to the church unless designated otherwise. You can find the offering pouch at the end of the pews on the side aisles. Please pass them towards the center aisle. You can also make a financial contribution by donating online. We are grateful to each and every one of you for your generosity in its many forms. Your offering will now be gratefully received.
Thank you so much, choir, for that beautiful piece. And we acknowledge the generosity with which your gifts have been freely and lovingly offered this morning. We receive them with deep, deep gratitude for the difference these gifts allow us to make for one another in this community and beyond. Thank you. I invite you to enter into a time of meditation and prayer. I invite you to take a comfortable breath. I invite you to perhaps offer yourself some love and care and calm in this moment, placing your hands on top of your thighs if that's comfortable, or on your heart if that's a comforting, peaceful gesture to you. Just allowing yourself to be here, knowing that nothing is asked of you in this moment, but to be present, to be just as you are, to hold whatever it is you're holding, to do so in the company of others, to know that you are not alone. This time of meditation and prayer, and each week we attune ourselves to our hearts and to all that is present in our hearts and on our spirits. All that may need some tending, that may need some release. That may need compassion. On this path of change, we often find ourselves encountering loss and transition, upheaval. And if you are in that place, know that you are loved. On the path of change, we sometimes find joyful transition and newness and possibility. And if that is where you are on this path of change, know that you are loved. The path of change winds and turns, and we may not know what is coming. And so we steady ourselves as best we can. We grab hold of the hands that are near us, that offer us support and care. We pray for courage on this road, the roads taken and not taken. And let us share with one another a time of quiet meditation. Our reading this morning is by Nancy Schaefer. This making of a whole self takes such a very long time. Pieces are not sequential, nor our supplies. We work here, then there, hold up tattered fabric to the light, sew past dark intent, use all our thread. Sleeves may come before length, buttons before a rounded neck. We sew at what most needs us, and as it asks, sew again. The self is not one thing, once made, unaltered, not midnight task alone, not after other work. It's everything we come upon, make ours. All this fitting of what once was and has become. My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. If you were in elementary school in the 1980s and surrounding decades, you might recognize this mnemonic device for naming the then believed 9 planets of our solar system: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. The planet at the very edge of our solar system, Pluto, enjoyed the designation of the 9th planet, but it wasn't always so. Percival Lowell was a wealthy Bostonian who founded the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona in 1894, and started an extensive search for a possible 9th planet. There were only 8 at the time, which he called Planet X. Despite 2 faint images of what was then to be named Pluto being captured in 1915, Lowell would not live to experience the official discovery of the planet. He died in 1916. The search lay dormant for more than a decade until the arrival of a 23-year-old from Kansas, Clyde Tombaugh, who was handed the job in 1929. He worked for a year at meticulously comparing photographs taken 2 weeks apart at the observatory and comparing them with a machine called a blink comparator for any sign of an object that may have shifted. Tombaugh finally found the subtle indication of a distant moving object large enough to be a planet. Further photographs confirmed it, and news of the discovery was telegraphed to the Harvard College Observatory on March 13th, 1930. And the news made headlines across the world. The Lowell Observatory put out a global call for suggested names. An 11-year-old girl from Oxford, England, thought the name of the god of the underworld would be a fitting one for that dark, mysterious planet. And so the much anticipated 9th planet was given its name, Pluto. Of course, humans didn't stop observing what is up there at the very edges of the solar system with this discovery. Mike Brown is a professor of planetary astronomy at Caltech. After completing a PhD on the planet Jupiter and its moon Io, Brown wondered where he might direct his research and his scientific inquiries next. What he discovered and how it eventually unfolded in the scientific community wasn't something he could have predicted. For many years after Pluto was discovered, it seemed as if the dust had just kind of settled on planetary discoveries. But as time passed, continued observation by astronomers showed that Pluto was not alone over there on the edges of the solar system. It was discovered to have 5 satellites, and in 1992, 2 scientists from the University of Hawaii, David Jewett and Jane Liu, discovered the first of now more than 1,000 known objects orbiting beyond Neptune near Pluto in what is called the Kuiper Belt for the scientist Gerard Kuiper. This discovery was intriguing to Mike Brown. As more and more objects were discovered in the Kuiper Belt, new attention was given to the possibility of yet another planet to be discovered in our solar system. And attention was also given to the very definition of a planet itself. I knew what a planet was, Mike Brown writes. As a child, I knew planets from my poster on the wall. As a teen, I knew them from watching them move across the sky. And later, I knew them from years of writing a PhD dissertation. Nobody was going to change my mind about what a planet was, right? Brown began to focus his research on all those objects out there near Pluto. And in a fashion similar to Clyde Tombaugh, all those decades before, but with more advanced technology and more people to help, he meticulously scoured images of the sky for something moving that was bright enough to possibly be another planet. Mike Brown and his team's diligent research paid off. Along with 2 other scientists, Brown discovered an object they referred to as Xena, which they believed to be larger than Pluto. The discovery led to a wave of rethinking among astronomers, culminating in a meeting of the International Astronomical Union in Prague in 2006. And they took up this very basic question: what is the definition of a planet anyway? After much debate, the IAU voted to narrow the classification of a planet and designate Pluto, Xena, and 1 other object of similar size as dwarf planets. The number of planets in our solar system was changed to 8. My very educated mother just served us noodles. The shifting and evolving of our opinions, beliefs, and knowledge is such an important part of human growth. We are not creatures in permanent stasis, but creatures in flux, ever-changing. And thank goodness for that. Changes in our thinking are necessary to keep pace with the changing conditions around us at any given time. Being open to new ideas rather than stuck in the rigidity of clinging to what we think to be true now makes growth possible. The changes can happen after years of careful research or in more sudden flashes of insight. I wonder, what is something you have changed your mind about lately? You can talk about it during coffee hour. Changing our minds doesn't usually come easily, especially when what we believe we know really matters to us. The dwarf planet that was discovered in 2005 that set off the Pluto classification debate has now officially been named Eris, after the ancient Greek goddess for discord and strife. The discovery of Brown's team of a possible 10th planet had sent waves of debate into the scientific community, and after the IAU's decision to reclassify Pluto as a dwarf planet, many people, not in the scientific community, felt the shock, the waves of shock. Brown writes, "In the days that followed, I would hear from many people who were sad about Pluto. And I understood," he says, "Pluto was part of their mental landscape, the one they had constructed to organize their thinking about the solar system and their own place within it. Pluto seemed like the edge of existence. Ripping Pluto out of that landscape caused what felt like an inconceivably empty hole." Within the realm of science, the protocols for learning and changing what we know to be true are clear. And if they're not clear, you decide together how to change them. There is a realm in which to have these debates, and new ways of thinking are encouraged. Beyond the scientific community, how we come to rethink what we think we know becomes murkier. Changing what we think or what we think we know isn't a dispassionate process. Daniel Kahneman is a psychologist and behavioral economist who studies how people think, and he warns against putting too much stock in rationality. He writes, "When people use the word rational, I think what they mean by this is that there is a good reason for what you believe and what you do. If there is a good reason for it, you believe in what you do. Then you are rational. But if we accept that in general, our more important beliefs are not rooted in arguments, that there is no good reason for why we have this religion or that religion, or this politics or that politics. It's just something that happened to us. That changes the nature." He continues, "We shouldn't be looking for rationality so much, because by using the word, we seem to expect it to happen. And I think that's just not the way the mind works." I find this statement sobering and also a helpful rethinking of why we come to believe what we do. There is a much larger role for life experience and emotion in how we think than we might understand or even desire. Reason and emotion are much more connected than we might believe, and the process of changing our minds is a holistic one. Bob Inglis served as a U.S. House Representative for the state of South Carolina for 12 years, between 1993 and 2011. He was an evangelical Christian and a member of the Republican Party, and he says that climate change was nonsense to him in the 2000s. But in 2004, his son, who had just turned 18, said that he would vote for him only if he changed his views on the environment. Inglis heard this from his son as a statement of love. He was saying to me, "I love you, and you can be better than you were before," Inglis reflects. With 5 young adult children, Bob Inglis felt strongly that it was important to listen to our young people. And so he joined the Science Committee in the US Congress. He took a trip to Antarctica and saw evidence of global warming in the ice core. He traveled to see the bleaching of coral reefs, and he met someone who was motivated to understand the impacts of climate change by their love of God, evidenced in creation. And Inglis had a conversion of heart and mind. He began to speak more publicly about climate change and the need to address it. This made him less popular with his Republican constituents, and when he was up for re-election in 2011, he was challenged in his primary. After 12 years in Congress, he lost his seat. He went on to found an organization called Republican, with an E-N, that brings together political conservatives who want to advance solutions to climate change. I wasn't familiar with Bob Inglis's story before preparing this sermon. I was surprised to learn about his conversion and the organization he founded. And not surprised, though disappointed, to learn his views on climate change caused him to lose his seat in Congress. I can sense that Bob Inglis's story is starting to change my own mind about whether and how we can address pressing issues that seem to keep us stubbornly divided. Bob Inglis took a courageous stance in bucking the generally accepted position both in his political and religious community. Often, fear of conflict and rejection can keep us from rethinking our positions. We are less likely to take on a new position or even admit that we don't know something if we sense it may cause tension with the people who matter to us, or that it may cause us to be excluded and shut out of community. If we are fearful of conflict, we might avoid the kind of conflict of ideas that is actually a productive source of rethinking. Adam Grant is an organizational psychologist who speaks and writes about the art of rethinking. And he says relationship conflict is destructive in part because it stands in the way of rethinking. When a clash gets personal and emotional, we become self-righteous preachers of our own views, spiteful prosecutors of the other side, or single-minded politicians who dismiss opinions that don't come from our side. Task conflict can be constructive when it brings diversity of thought, preventing us from getting trapped in overconfidence cycles. It can help us stay humble, surface doubts, and make us curious about what we might be missing. That can lead us to think again, moving us closer to the truth without damaging our relationships. Especially when we are rethinking deeply held beliefs and positions, we need to be able to move forward with some security in our relationships. We need to tend to both heart and mind in this process of change. And this kind of process is taking place right now in our own religious movement. If you turn to the first few pages of the gray hymnal in your pews in the Singing the Living tradition, you will find a page, maybe you've been to it before, that begins, "We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote." It's like on page 3 or something. And the statement continues to articulate 7 principles and the sources that shape Unitarian Universalism. The full statement is found in the sacred text of Article 2 of our denominational bylaws. That is meant to be tongue-in-cheek. I don't know if anyone, no one got it. Okay. The UUA says this about Article 2. For some religious institutions, the equivalent of Article 2 would be regarded as a permanent statement of belief. Ours, however, is a living tradition. We commit ourselves to regularly revisiting our principles and purposes to ensure that we are relevant, that as we grow in understanding, our principles and purposes grow too. And so for the past 2 years, the Article 2 Study Commission has been engaged in reviewing these very principles and the other purposes held in Article 2 of our denominational bylaws. They have held listening sessions, presented at General Assembly, and over the next few months, you can expect to hear more about the proposed revisions to those statements, the UUA principles and purposes, and how you can be a part of this process of change and rethinking. One of the shared values named in the current draft amendment to Article 2 is the value of evolution. And it states in this draft, evolution, we adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Evolution is fundamental to life and to our Unitarian Universalist heritages. never complete and never perfect. We continue to evolve. From rethinking Pluto to rethinking our Unitarian Universalist principles and purposes, we humans continue to learn and grow and reshape what we know and what we believe. We change our minds and our hearts, growing in knowledge and in love. May this be good news again and again. And I'll invite you to join now in our closing hymn. It is in the teal hymnal, number 1020, Wo Ya Ya, and I believe that UCM member Paula Gills will be leading us. And as Paula gets set up there, I invite you to rise in body or spirit.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know within that we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know.
Our chalice and carry with us its flame of truth, the warmth of community, and the spark of hope into the days and the week ahead. And as we do so, let us say together our mission statement. We welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, serve human need, and protect the earth, our home. May you go from here with an open mind and an open heart. May you go in peace and return again in love. And we conclude our service with the postlude.
sorry. I guess I could hear it.
Test, 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 test. So it's not going now. So can you guys hear this in the live stream? But it's not in the house for sure. I'm gonna push the on and off switch. And now it's back on. So yeah, it's not working in the house. That's weird. Everything else is working in the house. Okay, coming back in.
Yes, people have asked me to do that many times. Are you in the choir?
I am.